Welcome to Curiosity Unleashed. I have Andrea from the Wild Women Academy joining me today, and she'll be our host for the Wisdom Workshop this month in Story and Play. Andrea, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to have a chat with you. We've kind of explored such great topics already before we started. How are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, really good. Lovely to be here, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. And I'm very excited to play with you a little bit around different ideas. You doing amazing things with the Wild Woman. You're going amazing places. I know you're doing some collaborations with Alexi Woods from the Universal Movement, which is one of our wisdom seekers. And you guys are on your way to Glastonbury. You doing events and retreats in Ibiza mostly. Tell me a little bit more about the Wild Woman Academy.
So the Wild Women Academy is well, I want to say new. It's not that new, really. I've begun my journey like quite a lot of years ago. When I first started out, I was teaching yoga classes, and my first visit to Glastonbury at the time where my mum was had cancer and she was in her transition, and I had quite a big awakening and transmission through kind of goddess energy when I was there. And so when I came home, because of everything that was going on with my mum, and my mum was a giver, like she was a real giver. And yeah, there was a lot going on around like workaholism and how she would never rest. And so when I came home, I decided that I wanted to create spaces for women to relax in. Because often I feel that women often struggle, they feel guilt around, relaxation. So I ended up dedicating all my work to the feminine, and started working a little bit more with goddess energies. And that came in more through the yoga, so it was more the Hindu goddesses, and so I changed the name of my business at that time to what I called it Moon Tree. So it became Moon Tree.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, I was up in the middle of the night, as you do, and had a bit of a download that it was time to change and evolve. And I then called the business Radiant Woman. And so we were Radiant Woman for quite a while. And I think it was during the COVID times, within that period of time, I set up some morning sessions actually, which we call Spirit Dance. And through the 3-year craziness of that time, I met with many women all over the place to drink cacao and dance and journal and share, and really creating these connections.
Yeah.
During the time, I was also going through my menopausal journey, and I wasn't feeling very radiant. And so during that time, I was feeling a bit more, well, I was most 100% in my wild woman, and I was unpredictable. I was all over the place. And so I decided I just wasn't feeling resonant with this radiant woman anymore. And I felt like I feel a bit more wild.
Yeah.
And I was really feeling the pull to connect deeper with the moon and with nature and the cycles and seasons. And so, yeah, I decided to rebrand completely and change my business to the Wild Woman Academy, where I also went into training. So during that time, I started training women in cacao ceremony and circle holder, and also in the Wild Feminine Yoga, which had started out as elemental yoga, and then has now also evolved into this this idea of this wild feminine. So so that is like that has been the journey to become the Wild Woman Academy. And now it's a community really of women who are, you know, tuning into nature more, the season cycles through yoga and Ayurveda. So that is my, you know, that is my grounding, that's my roots.
Yeah.
So and yeah, and just this connection back to nature really as well. So as much as I love astrology, I don't it's not kind of my it's not my zone of genius really. I
Yeah.
love it. I love the old way with the moons of, like, we've just had the wolf moon
Mm.
and tapping into these animal guides.
Yes.
You know, I love all of that. The astrology, because I'm very earthy, like it's my like I'm an earth element, you know, I'm a
Yeah.
Taurus, so I'm
Yeah.
very rooted, you know. So the astrology, as much as I love it, it feels a bit up here for me. So I don't always kind of get it. I love the themes that come every month.
Mm.
Um, but I also love this more shamanic way, I guess, of linking to the animals and, you know, the earth. Really, the earth rhythm is my thing. I would say.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned elemental yoga. Is that something that is connected to the elements?
Mm.
So the four elements?
Yeah, sure. So the trainings that I do are over 1 year, so the 12
Yeah.
month journey, and we begin in Earth element, which is very much about connecting to nature. It's a personal development journey. So, you know, we've all just started this weekend actually, and we've all got to find a tree, like go find a tree, and we're going to connect with that the whole year, and
Oh
just
wow.
flow through the year.
Yeah.
And so Earth element is very much, you know, the yoga, and I work with mudras and essential oils
Mm.
to just really drop us into the earth, you know, connect to
Mm.
earth rhythm.
Mm.
Through Ayurveda, we have, you know, rhythm and cycles, and I believe that if when we begin to tap into, you know, the seasons and moon, and then the daily tones as well, because we've got all these different energies through the day,
Mm.
then we can maximize our energy and work really well without burning out, which has been my story as well, you know, a bit of a
Yeah.
burnout queen over the years. And so what I'm finding myself is that the more I tune into the moon,
Mm.
and really, you know, when it's new moon, really take time to properly rest, like proper
Mm.
new moon cocoon. Then
Yeah.
when I come back up to full moon, I've got the energy to follow that flow up to full, and then
Mm.
coming back down into waning moon, you know, tying up loose ends, and starting to use the energy of the moon and the seasons
Yeah.
um, to live, you know, to live with it as well in a
Yeah.
really beautiful way. And then, you know, and making it easy and accessible, so it's not so, it don't feel so confusing, or I don't, you
Mm.
know, like a lot of people who maybe have never ever tapped into any of this stuff before, you know, might
Mm.
think, oh my God, like that feels really confusing. Like when it's explained, I feel in a really doable way. And you know, I love this idea of embodiment through ritual, you know, doing it and adding one thing in for a period of time until it becomes habit, you know, this habitual growth really of ritual and also ceremony as well. I believe that women are very much connected to that. And as much as, you know, I've heard a lot of women say, oh, like I don't know how to do that. Well, like we all know how to do it. It's just a case of remembering, really, for me. It's about remembering. It's
Yeah.
not something that people need to learn.
Mm.
It's just
Yeah.
a remembering. Um, you know, sometimes a guide can just, you know, all of a sudden people go, oh my God, yeah, I knew that already, or I was doing that already. And, you know,
Yeah.
I love that. So,
Yeah. And I mean, there's so much in there that I'd love to touch on, um, because I think often we look at, you know, the feminine or feminine. I'm going to use the word feminine,
yeah.
um, and there's a separation. You know, women are better, or men are different, or all of that. But it's so important for us to nurture our strengths as women, or as you know, the feminine. We have different cycles. We have a 28-day cycle, where men have a 24-hour cycle,
Yeah.
which is something to take note of, I think, in our being, because often we experience, well, or we experience the world in a masculine, system type of way, where things need to happen every day, and certain roles of, but in essence, men and women have both feminine and masculine
Absolutely.
within them. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, I do. I mean, actually, it's been a really lovely. That's a really lovely intro, actually, because so if we look at this from a point of view, like for me anyway, my masculine story
Mm,
has been that of not brilliant relationships with men, not
mm,
a brilliant relationship with my dad actually either.
mm,
And I think if I go back to being a little girl, my dad had childhood trauma,
mm,
and he struggles to show love and affection. And so I think as a little girl, we grew up with this. I mean, we probably perceived it as rejection.
yeah.
That was the perception of what that was.
Well, the story, and this is our theme, that
Yeah, this
story becomes ours.
story, because of the story became mine. Like my dad was a bit narcissistic.
Mm,
He rejected me, and that became a story.
mm,
And then as I've got older, and obviously my mum died as well, I've fought with my dad my whole life. So I've fought the masculine. So in the wider awareness of that, I've fought the masculine my whole life.
mm,
Um, and so more recently, obviously since my mum's died, I've kind of made peace with my dad and actually have the most beautiful relationship with my dad now. But that has come through awareness of where I was rejecting the masculine. And
mm,
the thing with the masculine is it is structure,
mm,
it's also discipline,
mm,
it's actually money as well. So
mm,
money comes under the theme of masculine. So
mm.
I was vibing in divine feminine like no problem whatsoever. But divine feminine without structure is chaos. It's
Mm,
burnout. It's not brilliant at all. It's amazing for creativity.
mm,
But yeah, if we don't have the structure of getting it in place, then it's just chaos. Like
yeah,
literally, I call it divine feminine chaos.
yeah,
So how like my personal journey with it was during actually a circle that I was holding,
mm,
and we were working with the divine masculine and feminine, and bizarrely enough, my masculine appeared as a Viking.
oh wow,
And so at the time, we were watching or going through the Viking. I can't remember what it's called. Is it Lost Kingdom or something? We were watching that on Netflix. So, so we were going through that, and I started really connecting to, like, I was a complete flunk at school. I just hated school from the day I started till the day I left. And so history, I just didn't do any of it.
yeah,
So through watching this Viking series, and I live in York, so
yeah,
like literally could not be more Viking central here. I started really seeing that this connection to this Viking energy, and
mm,
even looking at all the men that I'd had relationship with, they were
mm,
all Viking, like really Viking as
wow,
well. And so it kind of really started to make sense, and in a way, I could make peace with the
mm,
masculine. I just connected so deeply to this more Viking style of energy.
mm,
And all the choices that I'd made in men, and they didn't work out, a lot of them didn't
yeah,
work out, but the choices I'd made in men, then I could all of a sudden see myself seeking for this Viking masculine presence to hold me. But because I wasn't trusting it and I didn't trust it
mm,
and I felt rejected by it, that's what I was seeking. And
mm,
so that was what I was bringing in.
yeah,
As I started to heal it, actually, I do have the most beautiful Viking man now who completely holds me, and
mm,
and I'm more open to that. But in a way, I can see how I've healed the masculine, because
mm,
it then showed up in my my real life, because relationship with my dad healed, uh,
Mm,
my relationship with a man healed, and so I could see, oh wow, like that is like confirmation that
mm,
I'm on this journey of healing it. So yeah,
mm,
so I'm very much, I love now, I'm completely love structure. Um,
mm,
I've made a new pact with discipline that it doesn't have to be constrictive, which is was my story around discipline. Is it's constrictive, it's
mm,
caging. I don't like the feeling of it. It represses me. But yet
mm.
now to create a new mantra around that, discipline allows me freedom,
Yeah.
flow, ease, and it holds the space. I like
Mm.
to see it like the masculine is the dance floor and the feminine is the dance.
Yes. Yeah,
I,
I love that. And and this is a very important thing that we as society, humanity, whatever we want to call it, I think it's time for us to move into the balance of the two,
yeah,
because the masculine just as much need to reconnect with their feminine, because there
yeah,
is, that is the inner part of that mass of men, and masculine and feminine isn't necessarily gender oriented,
no,
and that's what's so
it's
beautiful
just
in
energy. It's
yeah,
energy, and
yeah,
yeah, and I love that. I love the masculine energy now, and I love, like, so if I was to put that in an elemental frame,
mm,
like for me, the feminine is like the earth, that holding yin energy, and the masculine could be the fire, which is, this drive, the energy, the
mm,
vitality, all of the movement that can really happen when our like fire energy is really full force. If we think of, the masculine as summer energy, when we're all, like we're flowing in the sun and we're all, we've got all the energy, and a
yeah,
winter, and the feminine in the hibernation, when we're softer,
mm,
and I feel that many women really struggle with this softer as well. Like I feel that we're quite good at doing the masculine, actually, in a lot of ways, because we're quite
mm,
good at pushing and driving, and yeah, we've got to know how things are going to be. We've got to make a plan.
yeah,
But I believe that we're now living in a time where the feminine is actually, very much leading at the moment, and
mm,
as much as feminine feels all soft and it's lovely, it's not. It's really hard energies to work with, because
yeah,
the feminine invites us to sit back and
mm,
surrender, relax, and wait. And then
mm,
when I see it like maybe a surfer riding a tide. That
mm,
we've got to wait for the wave of inspiration to come, and then we can put the masculine in place to help us deliver that. And that's
mm,
how, for me, that's how those two come together. But we've got to
mm,
be okay with the non-doing, with the not knowing, like not knowing what's
yeah,
going to happen next.
yeah,
And it's very hard. I find it hard energy to work with.
mm,
I'm definitely starting to kind of master it a little bit, but for me, it's been tough to go like, I've got to be okay with not knowing what's happening next, and that
yeah.
can be tricky.
Because we've been conditioned into what's coming in the future. What are we taking from the past to create the future? We have to hold the family together, we have to do all this stuff as the feminine, and it's very much that yin and yang energy as well. The yin
Yeah,
is really connecting down to the earth and going inwards. There's a darkness in there even,
yeah,
where the yin is obviously more out there and more busy.
yeah,
Um, and I think this is maybe, and you would know even better, that this is where we create this burnout for us, because we want to live in this conditioned world instead
yeah,
of this inner wisdom
yeah,
that
yeah,
we know what needs to happen, we know what's coming. We had a quick chat before, where these little synchronicities happen, where you think of someone and suddenly there's a package in the post box that you're busy
Yeah,
walking
yeah,
through,
yeah.
or a message that comes up in the middle of the night, and there it is in your inbox the next day. And
Mm.
that's the magic I think that women have forgotten that they have.
Like their intuition's waking up. I feel that very strongly at the moment. And I'm even seeing it in people who maybe even aren't quite tapped onto it yet, but they're
Yeah,
going, "Oh God, like this thing happened the other day, and wow, that was really amazing." You know, like people who wouldn't expect that. You know, they would just think that was a bit woo, and but now it's like, oh, I don't think it's a woo thing anymore. Like it is a
yeah,
thing. You know, like, yeah, I love that. So yeah, definitely. And you know, this is divine feminine intuition. Like it's
yeah,
our intuition. It's never not been there. It's always
yeah,
been there. It's just that we've got so in our head that
mm,
we've dropped out of our heart. And you know, for me,
mm,
this is a journey we're all taking now. Is you know, rather than being in the head of what we should do, what we think we should do, we're in the heart of what would I love to do? Like
yeah,
what would love want me to do? Like what, you know, if I
mm,
was to wake up every day living a life I love, like what would that look like? Rather than
yeah,
what, you know, this up
yeah,
here, this pushy, the ego self that's wanting to keep us the same. And that's the other thing,
mhm,
the difference, because the ego mind wants everything to stay the same. It wants you to stay the same. It
mm,
wants life to stay the same. It doesn't want any change. And I think, as you know, like I like to call muggle, human beings, the muggle,
yeah,
it's frightened to death of change, like so
mm,
scared of change. But
mm.
every moment is change. E-
Well, and I love how, yeah, this comes up a lot for me in conversations, as when we don't change, when we are, moggle, as you say, kind of, stagnant, that's when decay happens. That's when we stop growing.
Yeah,
Growth and change go hand in hand.
yeah, completely. And, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, I was thinking this morning about like, you know, this conditioning
Mm,
of like, I mean, for many of us probably, and I think if we're in that older generation, you know, you go to school, you get your grades, you get a job, you find a partner, you have kids, you know, you work till you retire, and then what? Like you die. Like, is that it? Is that,
yeah,
honestly? I mean, honestly, I really believe this. Like we've been put under these spells. We've been put under spells, and like I'm a spell breaker for sure, because
yeah,
that ain't what life's about. That is not what life's about. It's not
no,
that. You know, it's not that. We can do whatever we want to do.
mm,
Really, you know, we really, really can.
mm,
And it's as if the kind of the universe is opening up to allow us that. So it's like, you know, I think there's a great contemplation, you know, this like what would a life full of living look like? You know,
yeah,
and start
yeah,
visioning it out, like write it down, get a vision board, like start, you know,
mm,
really visioning a life you love living. And
yeah,
you know, I do believe the universe is set up in our favor. Like it's, you know, if you've got a dream, like
yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah, and I mean, these aren't new ideas. These aren't like woo things anymore.
No,
These are it's life is for experiencing. We need to experience it, and I feel that the veil is definitely becoming thinner as to, hang on a minute, there's more to this. There's not just following this pathway. Yeah,
absolutely. I
we
think we're
we
living in really exciting times at the moment.
mm,
You know,
no,
I do
definitely,
believe we're really
definitely.
living in exciting times just now, because all of the stories, all of the conditioning, all of the brainwashing, all of the like the
Mm,
spell cast, you know, it's all coming down, and we're seeing, you know, we're seeing women thriving. We're
yeah,
seeing like, you know, I think there's more multimillionaires out there now than ever before, because people
mm,
are really tapping into this, you know,
yeah,
that money's energy. And
yeah,
you know, these conditioning of, oh, you know, I mean, if you sit with the, you know, this phrase, I can't afford it.
yeah,
I can't afford it. Like I remember someone saying to me, um, Like, how would you live your life if you never, ever, ever, ever had to think about whether you could afford it or not?
Sure.
I mean,
Wouldn't
that's
that be
massive,
nice?
isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
literally, first ego conditioning is, oh, I'd love to do that. That's the
Mm,
spirit, but I
mm,
can't afford it. That's the
mm,
ego.
mm.
So we've got to follow the spirit
Yeah.
and
And
know that
allow for magic, for things to happen.
magic, it's living magically. So we go, I'd love to do that. Right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take a quantum step and I'm going to do it. Then the money will come. The money
Yeah.
then travels through it. It follows it. It's like as soon as we go, I can't afford it. The money you put up, you might as well put up a big brick wall against
Mm,
the money ever finding you. It's like, it's
yeah.
crazy. And I have absolutely 100% had a massive journey with that, with money.
Mm,
The conditioning of, oh, well, I'll do it when I've got a bit more in the bank. That money's never going to come.
mm.
It's never
Yeah,
going to
because the car's gonna break and this is gonna happen and
all
whatever.
be
Yeah.
other things, other priorities that's going to take your money. And it's again coming back to, I choose me. I
Mm,
choose this for me. And that's going to benefit everybody that I'm in contact with then.
yeah.
Just taking that that philosophy on it. It's massive. And I think it's one of the strongest spells that we've ever been put under with money. I
Yeah.
really do. It's the most limiting thought, that we have is, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
That can
Well,
literally
it's been so well practiced because we grew up, it's been conditioned. And
exactly.
yeah, and it goes through to all the other things. Oh, I can't, do whatever because I'm not good enough, or it kind of stems all from that. I don't really deserve it, so
Yeah, and interestingly, that all sits in the fire element, which is interesting
oh,
because
interesting.
the solar plexus chakra, which interestingly is also developed in teens. So if
Yeah.
you think about yourself as a teenager, often for many people, if you
Mm,
didn't have really awake parents
mm,
or teachers, which you probably will not have had, that's the time in life where you get to, you're not going out in that, you're not wearing that,
mm,
you're starting to come into your fire really of life, where you want to express who you are, you're finding your personality, and school is saying, no, you've got to all look the same, you've got to all act the same, your
mm,
parents are probably saying the same, you've got the peer pressure,
yeah.
all your
Mm,
mates dressing the same and all looking the same. And so that fire gets really dumbed down. And
yeah.
so, when we then get into our adulthood, the story, and I can tell you after nearly 20 years of working with women, the
Mm.
main story with women is, I'm not enough. It's the
Oh,
main
yeah.
story that prevents
Mm,
women from doing what they want to do with their lives. I'm not
mm,
enough. She's better than me. I
mm,
can't do it. And it all sits in the fire. It's the fire, you
yeah.
know. It's the fire element,
Which you also equate to the masculine.
which is the
Yeah.
masculine.
Yeah. And
Often,
I mean, this is so integral, I think, in our journey at the moment, is this balance between the two. How
mm,
because the masculine need the feminine and the feminine need the masculine. We even Jung, talked about this, the animus and the anima,
uh,
and how these aspects, in the male, the feminine needs to be nurtured, and in the
yeah,
female or feminine, the masculine needs to be nurtured. Um,
absolutely. And I think just in my own journey as well, and you know, like women have become. I mean, if you go back to the burning times, for example,
mm,
when women were burnt for all of this work, I mean, this stuff we're doing here, we would have literally been set on fire for. We would have been
yeah,
that. There's no doubt about it. And so I feel that women have, that suppressed a
yeah,
lot, and they've also done what they've had to do to survive. And what I believe women have had to do to survive is to become more masculine, because that's where they feel safe.
Well,
Now,
that's where they are safe because they won't be judged
they
and
are
the
safe.
witch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So we become more masculine. But as we become more masculine, our divine masculine, our men are going, I do not know
yeah,
where I am anymore, because where is my role now? So we've
yeah,
kind of like, as much as we've become more masculine to survive,
mm,
the underlying energy of that is we don't trust the masculine either. So we've sort of like a bit like a chameleon. We've
mm,
kind of become like them, but
mm,
we're also blocking them as well. So we
mm,
will not allow our masculine to hold us. And the
yeah,
problem with that is then our masculine don't have a clue what they're doing. They don't know what is their role anymore. And I believe that's why we've got this now, this disconnect. So I would say
yeah,
to any woman out there, if any of this resonates, allow your masculine to hold you, give them jobs to do. Like, they love direction. Men are so simple, like they're so simple. They just want you, the feminine, to
mm,
lead them and tell them what you want, most of the time.
yeah, and to allow them to be masculine, allow them to stand in their power because I find it a lot if I watch kind of comments and things, the woman wants to take control because
Mm,
I have to create the structure, but there's so much in allowing, in letting go,
mm.
in you know s- looking after yourself, and I think that's a very important element that
Oh,
you work with as well. Yeah.
definitely, yeah,
Mm.
definitely. And I think, yeah, for us as women, I feel sorry for our men sometimes. Well, a lot of the
Yeah.
time, actually, I really do, because I think, we're seeing it all over the place that men, sorry, are losing their. Well, they don't know what they do. They just don't know how to
Yeah.
serve us, and that's all they want to do. Really, it's all they want to do. That is their job on this planet, is to help us. And
Yeah.
they just want us to be happy.
Mm.
'Cause we've got a happy woman in the house.
It's a
Everyone's
better
happy.
place.
We're the heart of the home, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And I think this is also what's giving rise to a lot of toxic masculinity, in leaders, as we see things unfolding, because there's not that balance, because there's not that, you are my anchor in places, and we are here in this together. And I mean, this isn't necessarily a gender role either. um, I
no,
find
not
in
at all.
partnerships there's a balance between the two. Like, my husband has a lot more feminine in certain places where I like to figure things out and he likes to nurture. So
Yeah,
it,
sure.
it's also finding that balance, and that's not gender based. You can have that in any kind of dynamic, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think if we're going to work together, we have to also allow for that, because, like you said, and we're changing roles all the time, because we're
Yeah.
going. I go into my masculine really well.
Mm,
Um, my partner can be in his feminine really well,
yeah.
and we can also change roles, and
Yeah.
I love that, because
Yeah.
it's just and then you're flowing, you're living in this
Yeah.
flow, which is really what life is. It's just a flow. It's not
Yeah.
a march. It's not a
No.
march. I always say, like, it's not a march, it's a swish.
I like that.
Swish. Yeah,
This is
it's not a
Andrea,
march.
thank you so much. That is so amazing. You're going to join us on, or you're going to lead us or host us, or show us a little bit more around the
Yeah,
story in a playful way, I think. I
yeah,
think a lot of what we base ourselves around is story. So I can't wait to experience that with you. Um,
yeah,
you're also doing some amazing retreats. I know you do work with Alexi Woods from Universal Movement. You guys are collaborating for a Reclaim the Moon retreat in Glastonbury in March
yeah,
14th to the 17th. You also do quite a bit of work in Ibiza,
yeah,
which is very fire for me. I kind of just think of sunshine when I think of Ibiza.
yeah.
Um, Tell
And
me,
Goddess Tanit, actually, Goddess Tanit is very present in Ibiza. She's a
okay,
beautiful goddess of women and children, so she's
yeah,
absolutely amazing to tap into in Ibiza. Yeah, beautiful
yeah.
energy.
And these are week longs. So you
Yeah,
have one 3rd to the 10th of May, and then you have one again on the 28th of June to the 5th of July.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's amazing things that happen. I can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Journaling. Yeah.
Journey. It's a journey. We are very much up at
Yeah.
sunrise on the beach doing blessings, skinny dipping. Some ladies
Yeah.
were skinny dipping last year. Yeah, getting that morning swim. We're doing yoga, journaling, cacao ceremonies. We visit all the hippie markets,
Yeah.
World Party Ibiza, World Ibiza Party. Yeah, we do, like tribal belly dance, and yeah, just
Oh,
really
wow.
drop the feminine.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, really lovely week.
And that wild woman, I think it's such an important thing to express, for
Yeah.
us as women, because there's so much holding back constantly to just
Oh,
go. Yeah.
uh, yeah, definitely, definitely.
And if people want to get hold of you, you have your website, wildwomanacademy.co.uk. There's also a email list sign up there. I love receiving
Sure.
your emails, and you'll find the retreats and things on there. And
Yeah,
then they can also find you on Instagram at the Wild Woman Academy.
yeah,
So
amazing.
do
Yeah,
follow. It's
yeah,
worth it.
please follow.
For men and women, I think,
Yeah,
to hold each other,
definitely.
we
Yeah,
need
get some men in
transparency.
there as well is amazing. Yeah, yeah,
Thank you
fantastic.
so much.
Lovely. Thank you, Michelle. Thank
I
you.
look forward to spending more time with you. Thank you.
Yeah, see you in March.